News at 10. Our top stories tonight. Cost of living, a top priority for unity government. Unity government receives the support from GRS, achieving two-thirds majority. Cost of living issue is on top of the agenda for the unity government. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said thorough discussions involving quick actions to address the matter will be held soon.
Walaupun ada yang positif umpamanya dengan kekuatan ringgit sekarang dan juga soal bursa saham yang lebih positif menunjuk keyakinan kepada pentadbiran kerajaan sekarang, tetapi saya masih merasa keutamaan itu harus terhadap kos sara hidup, harga barang yang mencekam dan menekan kehidupan rakyat. Jadi saya telah memohon supaya perbincangan lebih teliti dan tindakan segera untuk mengurangkan tekanan ini, dan saya akan adakan pertemuan segera dengan jabatan dan agensi berkenaan dalam masa terdekat.
The Premier is confident that the unity government under his leadership will be able to help alleviate the cost of living burden impacting the rakyat. Datuk Seri Anwar said this in a press conference on his first day at the office. In another development, Datuk Seri Anwar said the unity government has achieved a two-thirds majority support with the participation of Gabungan Rakyat Sabah GRS Coalition. The Premier said the matter was confirmed by Sabah Chief Minister Datuk Seri Haji Jino, who's also GRS Chairman.
Ini bermakna kekuatan induk kita yang diumumkan semalam, termasuk GPS Sarawak dan sekarang GRS Sabah, yang menunjukkan bahawa kita hampir atau sudah mencecah kekuatan 2/3 ahli parlimen yang akan memperkukuh kestabilan politik negara dan boleh menumpukan perhatian dalam kerja-kerja kita untuk mengangkat martabat negara, mengukuhkan ekonomi dengan maksud untuk membela nasib rakyat.
Earlier, Datuk Seri Anwar officially clocked in and began his duty as Malaysia's 10th Prime Minister at Perdana Putra Building at 9:55 a.m. today. His arrival was greeted by Chief Secretary to the Government Tan Sri Muhammad Zuki Ali. Also present were Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Akrisani Abdul Hassani, Chief of Army General Tan Sri Zamrus Muhammad Zain, Director General of Public Service Datuk Sri Muhammad Syafiq Abdullah and Attorney General Tan Sri Idrus Harun. On the formation of Unity Government's Cabinet, Datuk Seri Anwar said the lineup will be announced as the matter is currently in discussion.
Saiz Kabinet tentunya akan dikecilkan dan saya juga minta supaya ahli Kabinet baru setuju dengan usul saya untuk mengurangkan gaji mereka. Tapi ini dalam proses perbincangan dan persiapan.
According to the Prime Minister, he will sit down with political parties under the unity government to discuss on the formation of the new cabinet. Previously, Datuk Seri Anwar was reported as saying that he will reduce the size of cabinet to a maximum of 25 ministers. In a related development, Datuk Seri Anwar said he is not considering to hold the Finance Minister portfolio for the time being. He, however, said that he will look into every possibilities available before taking any decision. Datuk Seri Anwar had previously held the Finance Minister portfolio for 8 years, from 1990 until 1998, under the then Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad. The Premier had earlier said the size of his cabinet would be reduced and that he's also seeking the agreement of ministerial candidates to reduce their salaries. He said the respective parties would propose names for his consideration. He was met after performing Friday prayers at Masjid Putra in Putrajaya. Perikatan Nasional PN Chairman Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin congratulated Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim on his appointment as the 10th Prime Minister. He said the PN would play a check and balance role in the Malaysian Parliament. Tan Sri Muhyiddin, in a post on his official Facebook, said with the federal government led by Pakatan Harapan, PN will play a check and balance role in the Malaysian Parliament by bringing the voice of the people in line with the principles of parliamentary democracy. Moving forward, PN will continue the struggle for the well-being of the people and the prosperity of the country, guided by the principles of caring, clean and stable. The Kuala Lumpur High Court today allowed the application by the former Attorney General Tan Sri Tommy Thomas to dismiss suit filed by Datuk Sri Najib Tun Razak over alleged misfiance in public offence. Judge Datuk Ahmad Bache, in allowing Tan Sri Thomas' application, said that the claim brought by former Pekan MP was obviously unsustainable and that there was no reasonable cause of action. Datuk Ahmad, in his judgment, said Datuk Sri Najib's cases relating to 1MDB, International Petroleum Investment Company (IPIC), abuse of power under the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission (MACC) Act 2009, and money laundering under the Anti-Money Laundering, Anti-Terrorism Financing and Proceeds of Unlawful Activities Act 2001 were still ongoing, with Tan Sri Thomas no longer the AG. He added the court considered the opinion that the costs of action of misfiance in public office and the so-called malicious process were not sustainable and a non-starter because Thomas did not even conduct the prosecution of the 4 cases. Justice Datuk Ahmad also said there was no necessity for this claim to go for a full trial and no reason for defendant to come to court to explain. He further said that Tan Sri Thomas has immunity from being sued by virtue of the discretion granted to him by Article 145 subsection 3 of the Federal Constitution. Coming up, opening of Sarawak Tourism Trade Office in Pontianak offers new opportunities. Stay tuned. Johor Police have arrested 10 local men suspected of being involved in football gambling activities in conjunction with World Cup Qatar 2022 via Soga 9 in the state from Monday to yesterday. State Police Chief Datuk Kamaruzaman Mamat said the suspect aged between 22 and 43 were believed to be football bookies. He said to date, the value of the betting limit credit has exceeded 1 million ringgit. Police also confiscated cash amounting to 9,730 ringgit and 10 handphones of various brands, as well as SIM cards and a memo notepad containing suspected betting on World Cup Qatar 2022 football tournament. All suspects are being remanded between 2 and 4 days from today. The case is being investigated under Section 6, Subsection 3 of Betting Act 1953, which provides for a fine of not more than 200,000 ringgit and imprisonment for not more than 5 years if convicted. Drive-through immigration checkpoint at the main entrance of Labuan Roll-on Roll-off Ro-Ro Ferry Terminal will be implemented by end of this month. Labuan Corporation Chief Executive Officer Ridwan Ismail said the implementation of the new immigration checkpoint would help ease traffic flow at the terminal and ease the convenience of ferry commuters. Elaborating further, Ridwan said proper immigration counter at the terminal would be placed strategically to ease commuters. He also said that ferry ticketing counter currently inside the restricted and protected terminal area would be shifted outside of the terminal.
Drive-thru ini untuk memudahkan kepada penumpang-penumpang yang punya kenderaan bersama dengan keluarga ataupun rakan-rakan tidak perlu keluar lagi. Cuma dia keluar untuk membeli tiket, kemudian untuk cop bersama dengan IC hanya di dalam kereta saja, untuk pemandu saja yang akan mengeluarkan dokumen-dokumen yang diperlukan. So ini insya-Allah akan lebih dapat melancarkan di samping untuk memberi kesedaran kepada pengguna-pengguna kita.
The Ministry of Home Affairs earlier had directed the Immigration Department to enforce stricter control at the 2 Labuan ferry terminals, especially for non-Sabahan travellers bound for the Sabah mainland. Stricter control was needed to ensure there would be no free flow of travellers at the main gate of the ferry terminals on the request of the Sabah government, as there had been issues on the abuse of the free flow policy at the terminals. The opening of a Sarawak Tourism and Trade Office in Pontianak, Indonesia next year will offer new economic opportunities to both parties. Sarawak Deputy Premier Datuk Amar Awang Tengah Ali Hassan said the economic opportunities in Indonesia were immense, especially with the shift of their state capital to East Kalimantan, which is a part of Borneo Island. The Sarawak government is also committed to maintaining close cooperation with Indonesia, encompassing various aspects including small and medium enterprises.
Membincangkan bagaimana kita dapat bekerjasama dari segi meningkatkan penglibatan kedua-dua pihak dalam aktiviti ekonomi dan perusahaan-perusahaan yang juga melibatkan bukan sahaja bidang-bidang yang besar, tapi untuk dimanfaatkan oleh perusahaan kecil dan sederhana daripada kedua-dua pihak ini.
He said this after receiving a courtesy call from Ikatan Saudagar Muslim se-Indonesia at the Sarawak Legislative Assembly building in Kuching. On 21st November, Sarawak Premier Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg said during the tabling of the State Budget 2023 that the state government planned to allocate 10 million ringgit to the Singapore Tourism and Trade Office of Sarawak and establish similar offices in Brunei and Pontianak in Indonesia next year. DHL Express and Malaysia External Trade Development Corporation (MATRADE) will be launching a program called Trade and Grow Beyond Borders in the first quarter of 2023. The new initiative is to enhance export readiness among Malaysian business servers as a platform to support local micro, small and medium enterprises to uncover latent foreign demand and tap into overseas market.
97% of all the business in Malaysia.
The initiative equips business owners with practical knowledge and resources to navigate the complexities of shipping abroad and accessing foreign markets. MATRADE Chief Executive Officer Datuk Muhammad Mustafa Abdul Aziz said the agency is striving to encourage more MSMEs to seize opportunities abroad and increase their export volume.
So I believe that this strategic partnership collaboration between MATRADE and DHL will be able to enhance as well as to increase the numbers that we are looking at, which we mentioned just now. We're looking at 25% of our target in the 12-mission plan of the SMEs to be exporters. So where do we come in? Again, please leverage on the assistance of our 46 overseas network. These are actually the people who will be providing you with the market intel, with the the database of importers, distributors, the requirements, the standard that they have to comply, and so forth and so on.
Meanwhile, DHL Express Malaysia and Brunei Managing Director Julian Neo said this new program continues their efforts to mitigate export bottlenecks by leveraging public and private sector cooperation in addition to their expertise and capabilities. The program is open to participating companies of MATRADE's Mid-Tier Companies Development Program, a Global Perna Program, as well as Bumiputra Women and Youth Exporters Development Program. There are plans to extend the scope include other companies registered with MATRADE. On the foreign front, power supply gradually restored across Ukraine. A 90-year-old Hong Kong cardinal was among 6 dissidents convicted today over their running of a multi-million-dollar defense fund for arrested anti-government protesters. 5 of the group were fined 4,000 Hong Kong dollars for the crime of failing to properly register the fund as a society, while the 6 got a smaller fine. Cardinal Joseph Zen, one of Asia's highest-ranking Catholics, is among the scores of veteran activists facing legal threats as China stamps out protests in the former British colony. The 6 were arrested under sweeping national security legislation that Beijing imposed in 2020, a year after the outbreak of huge and often violent protests. They are yet to face charges under the law, which can carry a sentence of up to life in jail. Among Zen's co-convicted today were activist and singer Dennis Ho and veteran human rights barrister Margaret Ng. All had pleaded not guilty, setting up a 2-month trial. Cardinal Zen's arrest earlier this year for colluding with foreign forces shocked the city's Catholic community and renewed criticism of the Vatican's warming the ties with Beijing, including from fellow senior clerics. Prosecutors revealed that a part of the fund was used for political activities and non-charity events, including donations to protest groups and activists overseas. The defense, however, argued that the fund was merely a name given to a sum of money and the defendants did not form any society. It also challenged the law's vagueness, saying it imposed disproportionate restrictions on the freedom of association. China said that it would defend the legitimate rights and interests of Chinese companies after the British government ordered its departments to stop installing Chinese-linked surveillance cameras at sensitive buildings, citing security risks.
中国政府一贯鼓励中国企业按照市场原则和国际规则，在遵守当地法律的基础上开展对外贸易、投资合作。中方坚决反对一些人泛化国家安全概念，无理打压中国企业。我们将继续密切关注有关动向。中国政府也将坚定维护中国企业的正当合法权益。
The British directive came months after dozens of UK lawmakers called for a ban on the sale and use of security cameras made by Hikvision and Dahua, 2 partly state-owned Chinese firms, over privacy fears and concern of the company's products being linked to human rights abuses in China. Hikvision, in a statement to Reuters, denied claims, saying the company will further seek to engage with British authorities to understand the decision. The British office of Dahua did not immediately respond to emails from Reuters seeking comment. The power supply is gradually being restored in all regions of Ukraine, a Ukrainian official said today. Previously, Ukraine claimed that it has suffered from widespread power outages after Russia targeted power infrastructure across the country with missile strikes. Commenting further on the matter, Kirilo Timoshenko, deputy head of the office of the President of Ukraine, said that the power supply in all regions of the country was gradually being restored, with power to critical infrastructure connected first, followed by domestic power connections. Ukraine's main energy company said that most of the country's hydroelectric and thermal power plants have resumed operations. Nuclear power plants in Ukraine, except Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, are gradually coming back online to provide power for the country. By Thursday evening, Ukrainian energy suppliers said they were able to meet about half of the country's electricity needs, according to reports. The mayor of Kiev also said that the water supply in the city has been effectively restored. Uganda will close schools nationwide later this month after 23 Ebola cases were confirmed among pupils, including 8 children who died, the country's First Lady said. Janet Museveni, who is also the Education Minister, said there had been cases in 5 schools in the capital Kampala, as well as the neighbouring Wakiso district and Mubende, the epicenter of the outbreak. She said the cabinet had agreed to close pre-primary, primary and secondary schools from today, 2 weeks before the scheduled end of term. On Saturday, Uganda extended a 3-week lockdown on Mubende and neighbouring Kasanda, the two central districts at the heart of the outbreak, which has claimed more than 50 lives. The measures include a dusk to dawn curfew, a ban on personal travel, and the closure of markets, bars and churches. Since the outbreak was declared in Mubende on 20th September, the disease has spread across the East African nation, including to the capital Kampala. But the president has said nationwide curbs were not needed. According to the government figures dated November 6, a total of 53 people have died of Ebola out of 135 cases. The World Health Organization (WHO) last week said Uganda had registered over 150 confirmed and probable cases, including 64 fatalities. Uganda's last recorded fatality from a previous Ebola outbreak was in 2019. The strain now circulating is known as the Sudan Ebola virus, for which there is currently no vaccine, although there are several candidate vaccines heading towards clinical trials. Leftist Peruvian President Pedro Castillo has accepted the resignation of his Prime Minister and will reshuffle his cabinet once again amid a lengthy battle between the executive and legislative branches. Former Prime Minister Aníbal Torres, a staunch ally of Castillo, had challenged the opposition-controlled Congress to a confidence vote last week. But Congress declined to hold such a vote yesterday, saying conditions for it had not been met.
Luego de este rehusamiento, expreso de la confianza, con la expresión de rechazo de plano y habiendo aceptado la renuncia del Premier, a quien le agradezco su preocupación y el trabajo por el país, renovaré el gabinete. Invoco al Congreso de la República a respetar el Estado constitucional de derecho, el derecho del pueblo, la democracia y el equilibrio de poderes.
The confidence vote challenge was meant to pressure Congress amid tense relations between the two branches of government. Opposition lawmakers have twice impeached Castillo but failed to oust him, although they have managed to censure and fire several cabinet members. Up next, 3 Lions not pressured to match other teams' protests, that and more in our sports segment. Years of experience with some Johor Darul Takzim JDT players while coaching the national squad will not give Selangor FC head coach Tan Cheng Ho an advantage ahead of the 2022 Malaysia Cup final clash tomorrow night. Cheng Ho, who's guiding Selangor against JDT in the Red Giants' first Malaysia Cup final since 2016, said his previous experience with Southern Tigers may expose him instead in the clash at the National Stadium in Bukit Jalil. Elaborating further on the matter, Cheng Ho said the lineup of JDT players who had been with him would understand the gameplay and tactical approach which would be used in tomorrow's match, thus being able to scuttle Selangor's dream of winning the championship for the 34th time. Cheng Ho was first appointed to handle the national squad in December 2017, which saw the 54-year-old coach succeeding in reviving the national team's performance before deciding to step down in early January this year. Cheng Ho's last championship in the domestic football scene was winning the 2016 Malaysia Cup with Kedah, who beat Selangor in a penalty shootout in the final. In the meantime, he said that only defender Yazan Al-Arab could not be fielded following a match suspension, while the rest of the players were at their best after undergoing several intensive sessions. England coach Gareth Southgate insists his side won't be pressured into matching protests of the other team ahead of his outfit's second World Cup Group B match. Speaking on the eve of their encounter against the US, Southgate insists they would act where necessary, but with the World Cup properly underway, focus is now on the upcoming matches. Elaborating further on the matter, Southgate said the team has to be comfortable with the fact they know what they stand for.
I think we've got to be comfortable that we know what we stand for. That's not to say we won't do anything moving forward if the timing's right and if it's right, but I think if we're rushing to be seen to be doing something, then we could make an error which doesn't land well. And I think at this moment in time, for the players and myself especially, we've got to be focusing on the games.
Meanwhile, Southgate confirmed that Captain Harry Kane has been given the all-clear to face the United States in England's Group B clash in All-Core after shaking off an ankle knock. Manager Gareth Southgate confirmed. Kane took a blow to his ankle just before half-time in England's opening 6-2 win over Iran on Monday, November 21st, and was substituted late in the second half. He had scans on Wednesday, but Southgate said there was no serious damage and the striker was fit to face the Americans. United States skipper Tyler Adams, meanwhile, said his teammates are embracing the underdog status as they chase another World Cup upset against mighty England. The US head into the clash at the Al Bayt Stadium desperately needing a positive result after being held to a 1-1 draw against Wales on Monday. Leeds United midfielder Adams said the Americans are unfazed by the prospect of taking on a team he regards as one of the tournament favourites. In two previous meetings at the World Cup, the United States have never lost to England. They famously sent the English crashing out of the tournament in 1950 with a 1-0 defeat, and in 2010 held a star-studded England team to a 1-1 draw in South Africa. Adam says the clash is a chance to accelerate a positive shift in how American football is perceived around the world. US coach Greg Berhalter, meanwhile, said the Americans were confident of being able to pose a threat to England's hopes of victory. The United States have the second youngest team in the World Cup, with a talented, largely Europe-based squad brimming with technical ability. Berhalter, however, said suggestions that the current crop of American players represented a golden generation were premature. Brazilian striker Neymar should be fine to continue in the World Cup despite limping off with a swollen ankle during his team's 2-0 victory over Serbia, coach Tite said. Team doctor Rodrigo Lasma said Brazil would wait 24 to 48 hours before assessing Neymar's injury. World Cup on home soil in 2014. And that's it from us at News at 10. A recap of our top story tonight: cost of living top priority for unity government. Don't forget to catch us tomorrow afternoon on TV2 for more updates. Till then, I'm Shuhaida Arifin. Have a good night.